in a nutshell, the whole point of Nekokana is to make learning how to write Japanese social, memorable, and fun. A big part of how we accomplish these three goals of making it social, memorable, and fun is we try to find novel locations to actually practice in. Those novel locations give us a little something extra that we can use to get it to stick in our memory. The further along the journey you go, the more you get to stick in your memory, the easier it gets for it to stick in your memory. Your brain starts to change, and you start to get a brain that understands how hiragana, katakana, and kanji work. And once you have that foundation, once it gets hard-coded into your actual brain, then the process becomes a lot more relaxed, becomes a lot more enjoyable, becomes a lot more fun. And once you can take it to that fun place where it doesn't feel like, work, it doesn't feel hard, it just feels enjoyable. You get excited because you can't wait to add more to your understanding. Well, then at that point, then it really becomes a great activity to do with friends, because friends can help each other out. Friends can motivate each other. Friends can acknowledge the hard work and success that is achieved. And so, just like you get better results in the gym if you have a workout buddy, you get better results in acquiring the Japanese language, if you have a study buddy. And so Nekokana is all about making it easier to have those study buddies, to get them on the same page as you are, so you're not trying to go about it with different philosophies. And if we can do it in a great place such as a private island in the Bahamas during a rave, all the better. If you aspire to be able to watch Japanese animation without subtitles, Nekokana is your first step, because once you acquire the hiragana, the katakana, and start working on your kanji, then you're going to be in a better position to start to pick up the actual vocabulary. Once you have the hiragana is used to conjugate Japanese verbs. So once you have your hiragana down, you can start to learn what those common verb endings are. And the good news is, unlike English, Japanese language is extremely regular. So once you learn how to conjugate literally your first two verbs, you'll be able to conjugate almost all of them. And then there's you can count on one hand the exceptions. Compare that to English, where almost every verb is irregular. I sympathize with anyone who is trying to learn English as a second language. If I had to learn all the special cases, it would drive me nuts. So as an English speaker learning how to speak Japanese, you really have an advantage. And so getting over that initial hurdle of understanding how the writing system works, in the long run, that's going to win you the game. Because once you understand how the writing system works, then you're going to be able to understand what sounds are actually legal in the language. And so once you understand what sounds are in the language, then when you're trying to learn a word or figure it out, it almost becomes like a process of elimination. Look at that beach. Look at that weather. Look at that ocean. Isn't that incredible? How would you like to be with a group of people learning how to write Japanese with this in the background, with this going on? So you spend a little bit of time practicing, and then you spend a little bit of time just hanging out on the beach, swimming, laying in the sun, whatever you want. And then after you take a little break, you and your friends spend a little bit of time working on some more Japanese writing, and then take a break, hang out in the ocean, do some snorkeling. That's the dream, that's the life, and that's what Nekokana is all about. We are building a community of individuals that both want to have a meaningful exploration of the Japanese language, but you also want to have a good time in exciting places. Today it's a beach in the Bahamas, but tomorrow it could very well be a beach off the Japanese coast. And so with Nekokana, we make learning how to write Japanese social, memorable, and fun. And I would love nothing more than to have you join us in our community. So the whole idea behind Nekokana is Learning how to write in Japanese to start your journey in acquiring the Japanese language. When you know how to write Japanese, then you also get to know what sounds are legal. And once you know what sounds are legal, the language becomes a lot more easy to understand, easier for you to wrap your head around, and easier to learn. So even though it may seem like a lot of work up front to learn the hiragana, the katakana, and begin to learn the kanji, you get so much out of it by laying that foundation. Once you have that foundation, first of all, you are shockingly functional in Japan. So if you aspire to go to Japan, then having that foundation changes everything. Second, once you have that foundation, you're in a better position to just start to naturally pick up Japanese passively through doing activities like, watching anime, for example. Once you're able to start to recognize the sounds of the languages, the sounds that make up actual words, you'll begin to retrain your brain and your ears to actually be able to listen for them and hear them. Until you do that, you're going to be fighting against your own brain, because your brain's going to try to tune all that out. It's going to try to ignore it. So the Japanese language has 3 writing scripts: the hiragana, the katakana, and kanji. Hiragana is curvier, so what you're doing with the hiragana is that's mostly going to be for like actual Japanese words. It's also going to be provided next to some kanji as a learning or pronunciation guide. And hiragana is attached to verb kanji to conjugate it, to give it a tense. Katakana is more angular, and typically katakana is going to be used for like foreign loan words. A lot of people don't realize this, but Japanese is actually 10% English loan words. So once you learn the katakana, you can actually start to sound out words, and you'll be surprised to discover that after you sound it out, you actually already know the word. I get so happy whenever that happens, because once you understand the word, your work is done. You don't need to do anything else. And of course, the kanji, those are the more complicated characters that come from the Chinese language. And so kanji, that's going to take a while. There's literally thousands and thousands of them. But the good news is, for fluency, you don't need to know like 50,000 kanji. You only need to know a few thousand. And the initial kanji that you would learn is divided into groups, so you can acquire it in chunks as needed. And obviously success breeds success, so the better you get at understanding kanji and learning them, the easier it'll be to do it in the future. Also, kanji has parts. These parts are called radicals, and they share meaning and stuff among different kanji. So once you're able to retrain your brain to see the actual pieces of a kanji instead of just a wall of foreign, then you'll start to recognize some of these radicals, and that recognition will make it easier for you to sort of acquire them, remember them, piece them together, be able to tell the difference between similar ones. And once you're able to tell a small difference apart and remember what that difference means, then your knowledge of kanji increases. So that's the philosophy behind Nekokana. It makes learning to write Japanese social, memorable, and fun. The social aspect comes from doing it with other people. Everything's more fun when you do it with a friend. It's memorable because instead of just doing it by yourself in your room or something, you can do it in places that are exciting, such as this beach in the Bahamas. And it's more fun. See, also, social. Doing things with a friend is way more fun than doing it by yourself. And when you discover something awesome, you get to share it with your friend, and that makes it fun.